What is up, folks? I've got a little bit of a thing going on here. Got a new phone, so I'm still getting used to it. So today, just getting back to this little guy. I've been kind of neglecting him. So you can see right here, this little piece I added last time, and it was pretty flat when I added it at the time, but as you can see, like I've mentioned before with this material, it has a tendency to swell. So it's now more domed. So probably the first thing I'm going to do, let's just jump right into this. I guess while I'm doing that, apologies for not having posted anything for a while. But, you know, you get real life obligations. I just happen to not be working today. I'm on the last day of my vacation, so I'm dedicating some time to you. All for you. Who's that? Andy. Hey, what's up, man? How's it going, sir? Good day, sir. I'm sorry. Good day to you, sir. That's my really terrible Irish accent, right? Good day to you. Yeah, I was just pointing out how this stuff went on flat, but ended up getting really domed. So I'm kind of fixing that. See that? It was originally nice and flat like this, and now it's got a little bit of a dome to it. But you can see like how much it swelled up right here. So I'm trying to get this sort of round. He's got kind of a teardrop shaped head. No need to apologize, thanks. So yeah, I've just been on vacation and relaxing. We went down to visit my sister-in-law, my wife's sister, at her place. She's as pregnant as a house, so you know we wanted to say hi to her, and it was my wife's birthday, so just something to do. Just relax, enjoyed ourselves, went out to dinner, that sort of thing. Nothing too out of this world. I think we're gonna probably go to Grand Canyon next time. I'll get some pictures of that stuff. Maybe I'll do something out there that's interesting. I don't know. So he's coming along. He's he needs a lot of work though. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do right now is just kind of layer on some of the fur, kind of get that going. I got to see the Hinox or Hinox that I built for my nephew, and man, that thing is still looks brand new. No damage at all. The paint's still good. Even the little whiskers on its chin are still intact. The big stone creature I made with the little wooden barricade spike things, a couple of things were loose on that, but I did the old glue and baking soda repair job on it, and that's not going anywhere. But otherwise, that was in immaculate condition too. And it's not like he doesn't use it. He uses it. I think he's a little more careful with those now that since I mentioned it, you know, hey, nobody else has got those. This is the only one. I don't know if you saw this guy. He's made some progress. I don't know if I can zoom in on this. There you go. I fixed his eyes and his cheekbones, and I built up the bridge of his nose a little bit. And just for size comparison, there's my fingernail. So, yeah, not bad for not having sculpted one in 20 years. I made a lot of mistakes. You can see it's just super rough in spots, and I'll probably go back and, like I said in the last video, I'll have to go back and fix a lot of this stuff. There's some things I peeled off and I wasn't happy with. You can see where it's real rough. But yeah. Hey, Spider. Yeah. Well, he's got I told him about the Molduga, and he had an update for me. And Silver Scratch Built Productions. What's going on with Silver? How's he doing? I saw he posted a video. Is he all right? Oh, there you are. Hey, Silver. How you doing, man? I was worried about you there for a little bit. Well, it's good to see you're back online. So what I was saying was, yeah, I kind of mentioned I was. Where is that thing? Oh, here it is. I mentioned I was building this thing for him, which I can't even fit it on camera. Let me see. There we go. All 3 feet of it. So I mentioned I was building this one for him. I just let the cat out of the bag, and he had an update for me. So apparently he wants it now to be a Molduga King, which is like another version of the same thing. But luckily, physically, it's the same model. So I don't have to make any changes. The only difference is the Molduga King is painted different. So it's going to have like, it's mostly like a grayish white with a dark gray lip. And it has a big bright blue tongue with stuff on it. And the belly is white with like red blotches. I don't know if you've ever seen a fire-bellied toad, but the whole belly is going to be like a fire-bellied toad, white with big red camouflage, blotches all over it. Which that should be fun to paint. I told him, well, you know what? Let's do a version of like a hybrid version of both. We'll do like tiger stripes on the top and the blotches on the bottom. That might look kind of cool. So he was cool with that. So we're good. This thing's making some progress. Still needs a lot of work though. But yeah, thank goodness I'm not going any bigger. I don't think I'd have the room. I can barely handle that one. I'm not used to making super giant stuff like Silver. Silver goes for broke, man. He goes all the way. But yeah, I'm used to like itty bitty things. This used to be my primary scale I'd work in. So this is a big deal for me. But my eyes are not so great anymore. Which reminds me, I've got to do a video coming up. I'll be reviewing this guy. I like it. I'll just say the short version is I like it a lot. There's a few things that are kind of, tricky about it, which I'll point out. So there's definitely pros and cons, but overall I like it. Just a short version. But I'll be posting a video with how this works, how much I paid for it, some of the good stuff about it, and some of the cons. But anyway, we'll get to that next time. I'll probably post that sometime tonight. All right, so this dude. So I just sliced up a little bit of this. Yeah, I saw the white one. I gotta have everything in black, of course. It's my nature. It must be dark. This one, surprisingly, I don't know if yours is probably the same one, but and like I said, we'll do a separate video on it. This thing is rotatable, but it's also removable. So, and it's also got a USB-C connector for the charging port, which is kind of cool. But whoa, that's a little too bright. Get back out of there. Yeah, it's neat. It's definitely neat. Definitely saved my butt. It's my eyes aren't what they used to be, like I said. But not uncomfortable at all. All right. But like I said, there were some problems that I'm going to have to work out. So this guy, I mean, overall, he's doing okay. You can see he's not quite round in some spots. I had mentioned before, there's a lot of different ways you can make things happen with this. I don't have anything I'm going to heat this up with, but the EVA takes crazy glue. Yeah, exactly. Does it come in black? I like everything in black. Even my Nintendo Wii. I when those first came out, I was like, oh, I kind of like one of those. They're not too expensive, but they don't come in black. So I waited, and eventually, sure enough, they came in black, and I bought one. This guy is you can cut into this stuff by carving into it, just literally slicing it up. Works pretty well. You just saw me, if you came in a little earlier and you saw me slice some of this off, the EVA foam clay itself actually slices fairly well. There's a little cap I took off of his ear. The other way you can do this is you can take wood burning tool or a soldering tool, and you can burn marks into it pretty easily. You know, you have to worry about the fumes in that case. You can also sand it down pretty easily. It sands really well. What I'm probably going to do with this guy is slice up a little bit where his mouth and his eyes are. I'm probably going to burn in a little bit where his eyes are. But what I want to do is get this head a bit more round. What's up, Sarah? So, yeah, I think what I'm going to do is slice a little bit. We're going to cut his ear down a little bit because he's not... I'm going to build up around that, so I don't need it quite that long. So let's do that first. We'll just make it easy. I can probably even go a little bit more pointy right here. I'll just slice a little bit this way. It's a little flippy floppy, but man, it does cut well. Be careful not to get your fingers in there, though. Yeah, I think that'll work. Does not have to be perfect. And this is on pretty strong. So we'll probably cut a little bit of this stuff off. You can also go back over this with a Dremel tool, which I probably will do on some of these areas where, you know, like if I wanted to Dremel this, I could just sand it down smooth. But yeah, you can see where I kind of did a nice little thin slice across that section here, and that's giving it a nice flat area. Oh man, I've got so much mess up here. I've just had so much stuff to do. Sorry, I couldn't read that, Andy. Oh, yeah. So what I'm going to do is do the other method of manipulating this stuff and making details, and that's just add things to it. Which in this case, I think is probably going to be the best bet. Should probably get a little water here. Let me get a little cup of water. So, doesn't require much. This is more than enough water. It's a little dish to dip my fingers in. In a lot of ways, it's very similar to traditional clay. I think, you know, as far as smoothing it out, getting it moist, and then that's pretty much where it ends. It does air dry. It expands as it air dries. It does get a little bit more brittle, but not brittle in a way that... certainly not brittle like, say, Sculpey or traditional clay does. I mean, this is brittle, right? So it's still plenty flexible. But if I were to put a lot of pressure on this, it would snap. It would probably snap, create cracks, and the EVA underneath it would probably be more flexy. The way you get around that is you coat this with something called, well, the thing I use is called CosFlex, C-O-S, Flex. And it puts like a sort of a vinyl coating over everything and keeps it sort of, I don't think that it keeps it moist or just keeps it from drying out too bad. It's not really going to dry out to where it's super brittle for a long period of time. Again, you can see I can cut this pretty easily. It's got like a nice way to, let me get some more light up here. There we go. But what I'm going to do right now, let's see, does he stand on his own? So, looks like one foot is a little bit counter to the other one. You can kind of bend him a little bit to kind of get him where you want it. There we go. So what I might do there is add a little bit more material or remove some material to kind of get him to a point where he's a little bit more in line with where I want him to stand. There we go. Seems to be standing now. Or not. All right. And there's no mixing. It just comes right out. It's ready to go, right? The trick is getting it to a point you can actually use it. All right. What am I going to use for this one? This is probably a good one. It's got a little wedge on it. So what I'll probably do is start down at his leg. I start at the base of his leg. We'll wrap a little bit around. And then I'm just gonna feather in some fur, I guess. Where's the one I had? Here it is. I'm going for kind of a cartoony look. So it doesn't have to be awesomely perfect. You know what? I'm not really sure if I like that either. Let me see. How do I want to do this? Let's do... yeah, maybe like that. The trick is how's this going to stay. Might have to go a little bit more deep. There's another tool here. Is this the one? Yeah, this will work. This will work. This will work. This will work. Put a little moisture in there. So I'll go kind of deep on this one. What I'm kind of worried about is if this is going to actually stay after I've marked it. Because these lines, as deep as they are, they will disappear. So we'll see how well they do. It was really, if you look at the Hinox, I always have to reference that one because there was a lot of detail in that one. And I really had to like work this stuff to get a lot of that detail to hold. I mean, it took some doing. And it was mainly just because I didn't really realize how this clay works. You know, just how hard it is to hold detail in it. It'll hold detail when it's wet, and while it's dry, I mean, while it's workable, but it's a big difference between that and what it looks like when it's finished. That seems to be okay though. Let's see how far that goes. So it looks pretty deep now, but I guarantee you that will be almost non-existent by comparison once it's done. Let's put a little knee on him. Yeah, it's like working with mozzarella cheese. So I'm kind of doing this in like little layers. Just to, I should probably be wetting the base of it a little bit so that it has better adhesion. You just get it kind of slick like that. And it helps when you put the stuff on. The other thing I like about this is it's, man, you can work it really fast. I mean, you get results quick. There is that 24-hour drying time, so that's kind of a little bit not so quick. But on thinner stuff, you can probably get it to where it's almost dry, touch dry within a few hours. So it's not too bad. Just want to make sure this looks like fur. And you can kind of go back over this stuff while it's drying to sort of reinforce some of those lines or add little pieces. Say if you want to get them a little deeper looking. Make this a little bit thicker in the front because I want them to have a kneecap. But I can always go back over it, just add a kneecap, but we'll see. So here again, just, I'm not really even trying. I'm just kind of giving it a general look of fur. Once I paint it, it'll have a kind of a better look to it. And he's kind of cartoony anyway, so that kind of lends itself to not being super detailed. He's just some imaginary monster. We're off to a good start, though. Like I said, if you want to go a little deeper with the details, you can. You just kind of go over it while it's drying. Some little areas here I might want to emphasize, right? Anywhere I miss, I can just go back over it with more. He's definitely very Muppet looking. Another way you can do this, let me see if I've got one around here. I usually have an extra paintbrush sitting around. Let me see. Let me grab a paintbrush real quick. I'm back. All right. So what happens is you buy cheap tools, they fall apart as you're transporting them. All right. So what I was going to say is you can, if you want to get a little bit more water in one area, you can actually put more water over some areas to kind of keep it a little bit moist if you want to keep working it. Like this. Gets it kind of squishy. If you don't, you just leave it kind of firming up on its own. Or if you've got some that's kind of been sitting there for a little while and you're afraid it might be too hard for you to push anything into. Now keep in mind, this looks very hairy right now, but it's not going to stay that way. It's going to swell up and almost look like this. And you can actually hear how tough it is. It's actually nice that it's fairly tough but flexible. If there's some areas I can't get to with my finger, I'll just put some water on with a brush just to kind of moisten the bottom, you know, the surface, and in the areas I want to apply more stuff. Uh-oh. Squish that, man. There's so many kind of cool things about this, but you know, like I said, there's a lot of drawbacks. So let's put on a flat layer of this across his thigh. Blends in really well. You can just smooth it out with a little bit of water. And then go back in with just a little shaper or something if you want to blend it into the background stuff. But since this is fur, kind of don't really need to do that too much. So I'm just going to push this stuff into the top, the layer below it. It's okay if it gets a little clumpy. He's not a well-kept monster. Now, mind you, I'm not taking a whole lot of time on this portion of it. You could probably get a little bit nicer blending and detail if you wanted to. But, yeah, I'm just kind of quickie slapping through it. Quickie slapping. Whatever that means. If I see some areas that look like they need just a little bit more lines in them, it's almost like popping bubbles. You just go back and press some more in there. Yes, this is live. This is live. All right. Uh-oh, I forgot the whole front of the whole side over here. What? What? Forgot the whole part of this inner thigh. So there you go, quickie fur. How to get fur in a hurry. If I wanted to get it longer and flowing, I just put less marks in it and pull it out and blend it in with the one below it. If I want to say like add more to the body there, I can do that too. If I see some that's like, get that out of the way. Uh-oh. Looks like there's a little piece of something in here. A little EVA chunk. Well, how that got in there. I don't have the cleanest work surface, so I'm not surprised. All right. Speaking of clean work surfaces, probably would have helped when I was putting the screensaver or screen protector on my new phone, because it's got globs of lint and all kinds of stuff. I did not follow instructions. I tried to look for them. I didn't find them. I told my wife to go ahead and do hers, that she'd probably do a better job. And sure enough, she did. Hers looks great. Hers looks perfect, in fact. So good for her. I'm going to let her do mine next time. So remember, only half of him is fur. The other half is a robot. So there's a little transition point here from his upper thigh to his abdomen. And right now I'm just kind of blending it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's got to be my favorite thing to say. It doesn't have to be perfect. Until I'm working on something where like, this has got to be perfect. Yeah, those are the ones I probably shouldn't put on camera because I will freak out if I make a mistake sometimes if I'm working on something like I may use some expletives that even the most seasoned of drunken sailor has not heard. And while some might find those hilarious, I think others would probably find them quite lurid and distasteful. Perhaps even sacrilegious. Yeah, I'm pretty bad. I'm pretty bad. Pretty. All right, here we go. You know what? Let me go to my channel so I can actually see what you guys are typing here. That'd probably be smart, right? Easy 8 boy. Hey man. Hey Aaron. So yeah, now I'm seeing everybody that's on that I did not see before. So hello. So you got Spider in here, Silver was here, Andy's here, Sarah's here, Easy 8, and Aaron. Aaron by Aaron. Hello, Aaron. All right, let's get a little more moisture on this part right here. We're going to start on his back side. And while it seems like I'm being kind of carefree and careless with it, I am a little bit, but it's not. I'm not super worried about messing this up, but I can mess it up. If I put too much pressure on one side or the other, it'll definitely flatten out any details I put in it. But like I said, a lot of these details you can already see right here in this section here. It's starting to dry and swell up, and I'm losing some of those lines, which I have to go back and press. I'm just wondering how long it'll last. It won't look as defined as it does in a little bit. You can see that part's already starting to dry up a little bit. And you can see here too, I'm losing a ton of definition right in there. It's kind of hard to see, but right around here. So I have to press it back in as it's drying. That's the only thing. If you want detail, you either have to keep a constant eye on it as it's drying and kind of force it back into place, or you just have to do it in very, very small sections that you have a little bit more control over. There we go. All right, let's put on this big blob here. All right. Trying to keep it kind of in the middle. And like I said, even with these lines that you see that are very clearly defined, I can almost get this stuff down to a slurry and fill in those sections or blend them in later. So not even that worried about it. So I'm kind of like losing some detail here again. I haven't hit this with a hairdryer yet, but I imagine that'll probably rapidly accelerate the drying. And I haven't figured out if that will help decrease the swelling yet or not, or if that'll just make it worse. So that may be something I'll experiment with later. It's kind of something I've been thinking about for a while now. I'll stop here in a second to read your comments, if there's any that are pertinent to what is on the screen. There's his furry booty. We shall henceforth refer to this as the hairy booty section. Okay, so that kind of bulked him up a little bit. He looks much furrier. I don't know that that makes him menacing at all, but you know, he's definitely furrier. You can see some of these areas already kind of losing a little bit of their definition, but that's okay. I think it's going to be deep enough to where hopefully there's enough gaps in between it that when it dries, it's still going to have some of that definition. It kind of looks that way. Anyway, we'll see. We're already at the chest section. But before I put something on the chest, let's go around that shoulder a little bit and part of the arm. So let's go, we'll do the arm, lower part of the arm here. So I'm going to do this part of the arm, wrap the shoulder around it, and then the chest over that because I want it to overlap. This part I'm not as worried about. It'll probably bulk out, and then I'll have room for the hands later. So I'm just going to be doing this furry bit and then kind of beefing out the back of his head a little bit. Probably with fur. This I'll be doing with just smooth round areas. Almost forgot to wet it. Like I said, wetting it, you don't want to soak it. You just want to get it kind of damp. It improves adhesion for the layer that's going on top. Doesn't take a lot. And you can see here it's going to blend in pretty well when I smooth out a little bit. Which is nice because you can really get in there and put some muscle tone in it if you want to. Not recommended. This is probably as small as I'd ever go with this material. It just is way too, you just can't hold detail well enough for anything small. this is really as small as I'd ever try to go with it. It's just way too, it swells up way too easy. I mean, if you try to do a miniature the size of this, if you try to do a miniature the size of this and you sculpt it, if you somehow manage to get any detail, by the time it was dry, it would just look like this blob. It swells up that much. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit when we get back down to the leg. You're going to see that if you scan the video at the beginning of this and then go to the end, that a lot of the definition that was in the beginning when I put it in has disappeared. Can't emphasize that enough, even though it seems like I just keep talking about it. You could probably use a very similar technique for fur if you wanted to do like, and I'm looking at it right now, I'm thinking that, you know, it kind of could be real easy to make bark this way. I could just paint this guy brown and he'd look like a tree, a really barky looking tree. But yeah, you can always make the fur look a little bit more furry. There's lots of ways to do fur. But he's a little bit on the tree-ish side. Oh, you can see right here. Looks like I put my finger in that one. We'll just fix that real quick. See, I already messed him up. No worries. It really is kind of like pushing around a slimy booger bubblegum or something. You got to be careful too when it's drying, when you're putting more, you're trying to force that texture back into it, that you don't pull it too much, because you risk actually tearing it as it dries. When it's sort of thin, if you try to string it out too much, you'll pull it to a point where it just rips off. Okay, it looks okay. Let's get that shoulder on there. And I can get part of this armpit over here too, I think. I'm just going to spread this out a little thinner. You gotta be careful you don't put it on too wet, because then it, instead of being adhesive, it kind of just gums up on you, starts sliding around. And I'm just kind of following the flow of traffic with the fur, you know. There's no real rhyme or reason, but I try to keep it kind of like all heading this way. So the fur's pulling down from like a direction. I'm looking at the center line and pulling it around this way, pointing down in all directions. And that's kind of how I'm judging where I want to put it. So there is a method to my madness. Let me just put this on and I'll look at the chats here in a sec. If there's anybody still on. I can't really tell since I'm on my phone. Looks like So, 7 people. Wow. More people than I thought. Okay, so looks like I'll probably have to bulk this up a little bit, but that's okay. No biggie. He's just a cartoony monster. Like I said, if this were like some kind of realistic thing, it'd be kind of different. That's what makes this stuff kind of ideal for cartoony stuff. It has such a bubbly feel to it, you know? It's like you can kind of emulate some things that look real, but at the same time, it's kind of in between. It has this cartoony feel. It just naturally has a kind of cartoony, bubbly feel to it. I don't know if that makes any sense. Something kind of funny about it that way. All right, so we'll wait on that for a little bit. Let's put him. We'll put him over here. Put something on his feet to keep him from falling over. He's pretty light. You'd be shocked how light this thing is. There, put that there. Come on, don't fall over. Maybe something to prop him up. There we go. That'll prop him up. All right. Doesn't mean I have to call him a watermelon. Lurk Ohms is our Andy. So Andy's lurking. Sarah Smile. Chimera Wargaming. Hey, what's up? I don't know if I caught your last video. I think the last one, Chimera, I saw was the tree. I know I think you posted something a while after that, but I haven't checked yet. I've been kind of out of the loop for a while. So I guess now that I know what you guys are not talking about, let me get back to work here. In case you missed it, what we're doing is adding fur. We are adding fur. Fur. At least to one side of them anyway. So let's put some fur across the chest, and then I'm going to cut out a little bit of that mouth there and fur up the back of his head. And I think we're probably good for fur. And we'll let him dry for a little bit after that, and probably get on Twitch and start working on that Molduga for a while. Or maybe this guy, I don't know. We'll see. Or the Geisha bot, which I've been neglecting again. It's just that thing has some very specific requirements. I got to really plan it out. I don't know why I decided to go through to the links I did to finish that like I'm trying to do, but there it is. I made a choice. I got to follow through. All right. So I basically brush a little bit of water, just regular water, tap water, nothing fancy, just to promote a little bit of adhesion for the layer underneath. And one of the things I was mentioning was that, and I know those of you that have already heard me, have probably heard it too many times, this will lose its detail once it starts drying, so you have to kind of keep pressing it in if you want to keep it very sharp. In other areas where you want that to stay sharp, you really have to kind of focus on making sure you press that detail back in. As it starts to dry, it swells up, and you start to lose some of that linear detail. And I wish I'd shown you, but I don't know if you guys remember when I first made the head, I poked 2 big holes in the head where the eyes were. When I came back the next day, they looked like tiny dots. Everything had kind of like just swollen up like this. You may as well have poked it's like when you poke your finger in some dough, some fresh bread dough. If you've ever made bread, when you poke your finger in there and you pull your finger out, it just starts to close up on its own like it's alive. And that's the way this stuff works. It really does kind of do its own thing. It tries to swell out all the detail as the moisture starts to leave the material. You can even see here it's kind of, you can feel it's kind of airy underneath it too. It's like it degasses almost. Maybe that's a better word. So let's see if I can get a little bit here, a little bit up here. I'm just going to bring it up to this neck section, and we're just going to blend that in. So this will be kind of like the chest area. I'll make these a little bit bigger hairs. A little pointier. You notice you can kind of thicken it up and layer it a little bit. So you sort of are able to bulk it up in a way as you add layers, which is kind of nice. And it'll be a nice, thick, foamy, puffy layer. It's not going to flatten out. In fact, it might get thicker. Let's get this hair in here. Blend that in. Okay. So now he's got some fur across the top. And what else I was going to do was add some fur across the back of his head and maybe build out that ear, which I'm running out of places to grab stuff. So let's put a little bit of wet stuff back here. And again, we're only doing about half the head. So probably don't need much more than this. I'm just going to fill that out a little bit. Trying to stay within that round shape. And it doesn't have to be perfectly round here because this is going to puff up. By the time it's dry, it'll look almost completely round. And if it doesn't, I can just always add more. Let's move that over there. Kind of feel like I could probably just go bigger with the lines on the head a little bit. Yeah, just kind of spread them out a little bit more. Maybe get a little thicker, deeper with them. And if you're thinking, he kind of looks like a Muppet, that's okay. That's kind of the look I'm going for anyway. Is kind of a little bit more cartoony. The way his hair sort of layers isn't super natural. But that's okay. He's just a mascot after all. Okay. So now we got hair across the back of his head. We got hair on his chest, hair on his legs, some of his lower leg, upper arm. I think we're going to leave it there because any more I do here, and I'm really risking kind of messing it up. So I think I've got enough room here to where his face and his foot will touch without having to mess up this. So let's try that and see if that's true. Yeah, so you can see nothing's really touching. So I can leave him kind of flat like that on here and let that dry out. Face down like, don't worry, kids. He's all right. He's okay. Just leave him be. He's just fine. He hasn't passed, so to speak. He's just resting. With a knife in his back. Just kidding. I know, it's so dark. All right. Every once in a while, I'll probably want to check on this and see that this fur is, and you can see that it's not really allowing me to push any detail into it now. So this is kind of, I really have to force it, whereas before it was just, I would barely touch it and it would take detail. You can see it's starting to swell up a little in some spots. You're losing a little bit of definition. You see how it's puffy right there? So I'm hoping that this holds well enough to still look like fur when it's completely dry. I know there's going to be some areas that are questionable, and I might have to go back over it a little bit with some other material. Well, the same material, but like here it's already flat. I need to really press it in. But yeah, I can always go back over it and accentuate certain areas with a small amount of the foam clay. If I need to. And then when everything's said and done, I'll cover it with that Cosflex. I usually take the Cosflex and I'll mix it with some paint, give it a tint. In this case, I'll probably go dark brown with the whole thing, and then he'll get a coat of red on this side and some silver on this side, you know. Again, if you can hear that, that's how solid this gets. But again, it's very resilient to abuse. It's not going to dent. It's sort of flexible. All right, so I think that's probably good. Let me set him down carefully. All right. Let me see if you've got any questions. Hey, Crafty Rick. Hey, Esron. Keep breaking. I got more people in here I thought would show up. This is just random live stream. Hey, if anybody's got any questions right now, this would be the time to ask, because I'm probably going to get ready to wrap this up, at least on this guy, and go back to work on that Molduga, which isn't anywhere near the stage this one is. This guy's nearing completion, I think, hopefully by the end of this month. I'll probably randomly stream some stuff on him throughout this week, because I think he's at a point where I can kind of easily add things and not be too worried about it. Yeah. And then I'll have a finished example of stuff to show you. For those of you that missed it, I did add some more facial features to this guy. Kind of fixed his eyes a little bit and added a bridge to his nose. And I'll be cleaning him up. There's a lot of rough areas on here he's going to get fixed soon. And then, you know, of course, there's that Molduga. Wait, almost forgot. I'm supposed to show this while I'm crafting, remember? That's what this guy's for. Morrigans Monster Mayhem. So, and yes, again, I promise I'll get to working on that geisha. I just, you know, I picked out everything I'm going to get for it. I'm going to put on it. I've got the materials here. It's just going to, it's just a matter of getting the time to do it. That one's not sort of like, I mean, I want to finish it. But there's some elements to it I want to get right to get it done. Okay, so that's where we're at. This guy's just going to have to dry off. Make sure I'm not squishing anything. It looks good. All right, so hopefully this fur will still be there tomorrow when I look at it, or later this evening. It looks like it's holding pretty well so far. Like I said, this stuff has a tendency to lose detail real bad. So get a good look at it right now so you can see how much line detail there is in it, because I guarantee you it will not be so defined when this is dry. And then we can do a comparison. I should probably take a snapshot of this. Like, you know, before, 24 hours later. All right. Come back. Come back. No, all right. He's alive. He's alive. All right. All right, guys. So if you want to catch me on Twitch, for those of you that have Twitch, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the Molduga. If anybody's interested in seeing my review of the goggles I bought, Spider-Man said he's got a pair of the white ones, but I'm going to go ahead and review the black ones I got. That's just to remind you, it was these with the light, and this is the one with the double lens and the sort of like extra lens on it. So I'll be reviewing these tonight, kind of going over some of the pros and cons that I've encountered with them so far. And then that'll be it. But yeah, I'll post that later. I don't know if I should go live with that or not. I could probably just do it as a regular video, but man, lately I just don't feel like editing a whole lot. We'll see. We'll see. So, yeah, if anybody's interested in that, I'll be doing that. All right, folks. Anybody got any questions? Aaron, Esram, Silver, Crafty, Sarah, Chimera, any hootie-hoos got some questiones? I'm going to say New Year's. Yeah, Molduga, yeah. So, yeah, Molduga's going to be on Twitch. I'm going to do that probably as soon as I disconnect from here, and I'll just reconnect on Twitch and start doing the Molduga, which is this. See, it can't even fit it on the screen. It's so gigantic. And this is going to get a coat of this stuff, too. Probably going to need about 3 buckets. I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely big. All right, folks. We'll talk later. Bye-bye.